So I'm going to talk about Django, AngularJS 5, and Docker Swarm Road to Production. So a little bit about me. So I'm a Docker engineer at Zurian. Zurian is a startup company, and then I specialize Python for backend. And also, I'm a Docker lover. So everything we build is built around Docker, maybe environment, tools, application, etc. And then experience in AWS, DigitalOcean, and Azure cloud hosting providers. And then, yeah, lastly, I use AngularJS for creating single-page application. So my objectives is a brief look at AngularJS 5, a knowledge in Docker, and knowledge in Docker Swarm. I won't talk about much of Django because, yeah, Django is a popular web framework. Almost every Python developer knows it, and I assume that almost, or maybe even everybody knows in this room Django. So yeah, Django is a web framework for perfectionists with deadlines, batteries included. So yeah, I believe you guys are already familiar with that. So okay, let's proceed. So AngularJS 5. So you guys are familiar that there used to be an AngularJS 1, right? So yeah, it was very popular and almost the first to create a single-page application. But it was popular way back, maybe 3 to 4 years ago. They are going to toe-to-toe with React.js, and then there are some other frameworks like Ember.js, Backbone.js. But the problem with the Angular 1 is when your application gets too large, coding or continuing to maintain it becomes troublesome, and then you need to include a lot of other libraries that they were created by them, and then when there are errors, you need to do some inspect elements. So yeah, it's pretty troublesome at some point. And React.js is trying to React.js is actually beginning to become above AngularJS. So they made a move. So they did an Angular 2. It's a complete rewrite of Angular 1 and the future of Angular 1. So just to give you a brief description, with Angular 2, they already have their own CLI. It is already integrated with Webpack. So you don't need to do some manual configurations with Webpack just to get started. And then, yeah, they have their own production build. So yeah. There's no Angular 3 because yeah, it was skipped due to version number conflicts. And then now we have Angular 4. That is the trend last year. So it's simply an update to Angular 2. So more services, more libraries, more commands, and then a more minified version. So it improved the performance a lot better than Angular 2. And now we have an Angular 5. So just like the transition from Angular 2 to Angular 4, it also has a lot of improvements, and that includes the performance and some more commands. Yeah, and more libraries as well. Okay. So I'm going to discuss why it is ideal for a Python developer or even a Django developer to use AngularJS 5. Because why use AngularJS 5, right? We have React.js right now, we have Vue.js framework right now who just become a new kid in the block with the front-end framework competitions. It has a level of its own, and it's believed to be the combination of Angular and React. So let's discuss about advantages. So advantage for Python developers. So why? AngularJS 5 uses TypeScript. So what is a TypeScript? So it's a superset of JavaScript. Basically, its coding is not JavaScript-like, but it's more of an OOP-like. If you take a look at it, I'll show it later, but it's like a combination of Java and Python. So with that, there's a bit of familiarity if you came from a Python background and then trying to code with AngularJS 5. And then besides that, so how it is rendered to the browser, it is compiled from the server, TypeScript to JavaScript, to become rendered in the browser. So yeah. And then, okay, so now for the advantage for the Django developers, their CLI is very similar. I'll I'll show a table later, the similarities of their CLI. So basically, they also have, the create project, the create new app, so on. Also the run server. And then their framework structure has similarity. So Django adopts the model view template, and I can say that's AngularJS 5 has also the same. And then many out of the box solutions. So in the front end terminology, lazy loading is how do I picture it? So if you take a look at the latest front end frameworks right now, the single page applications, every JavaScript is bundled in a single JavaScript file. So let's say the vendor.js. It has a lot of components inside here and other libraries. So with lazy loading, what it does is it separates some of the components to make the bundle a lot smaller. Yeah. But the disadvantage of that is, let's say you lazy loaded the component of the About Us page. When you visit the About Us page, that's the only time that the JavaScript component for the About Us page will load. So there will be a little bit of delay on the rendering of the HTML. So the answer to that is preload. So what it does is, it does like an asynchronous downloading of the JS file in the background. So the combination of that, there will be just a smooth loading of your AngularJS 5 app. So AngularJS 5 does it so easily in its settings.py like file, which is the app.module.ts. So AOT compilation. AOT is short for ahead of time compilation. So when you do, let's say, nang-serve, which is equivalent to Django run serve, what it does, it already compiles the TypeScript, and then it removes all the unnecessary components or libraries to make your JavaScript bundle smaller. Okay. So with that, let's go forward. Okay, so here it is. So Django versus Angular 5. If you take a look, that's a comparison of how to set up both frameworks. So with Django, so yeah, everybody knows this, just do the pip install. With Angular, just JS5 npm install the Angular CLI. So yeah, and then the initial project structure. So yeah, the start project versus nang new. Run server, for the web server, run server versus nang serve --AOT. Startup versus nang generate. So I'm just gonna give a demo on the start project and the nang new because, the run server. Actually, I'm just gonna give a demo except for the installing both. So okay. Please be patient. This is like the startup page when you create a new project for AngularJS. So, and now we're going to create like a new app or module. Okay, so with that, we already created a new project with a single module each, and then serve a web server for each. So I can say that it's pretty similar. So let's move on. Now, so for the coding part, these are the similarities for both. So with the initial settings, they're a little bit different. So for the Django, you need to, of course, set the template directories and then include the new apps in the installed apps. Yeah, and then set the template inside the, create a folder for the templates. For the AngularJS module, set the router module. So this is like the urls.py, you need to set that. And then, yeah, the similarity begins after. So the update.html template up to creating the view up to the URLs. So I'm gonna give a quick demo, a quick look. So also you can see what a TypeScript looks like. Basically, I'll just do uncomment and comment. I already have something ready for that. Okay. So I already set this up, so we'll just proceed to this one. So update the HTML templates. This is the Angular side. So if you guys take a look, the template tags is very similar as well, or even exact, because they use the curly braces. So with this one, I set an attribute in the class of class component of this AngularJS template, and then this one, the method or the function. So okay, and for the Django side, oops. And then for the Django side, so it's this. Okay. Next will be create the view. So this is what a TypeScript looks like. Yeah, so it's a little bit of Java because of this. And then with Python, yeah, because it has attributes like this, and then, yeah, this functions, constructor, yeah, in it. and then what views.py looks like. So we just have to implement this. Okay. And lastly will be the URLs. Okay, so this is the routing example for an AngularJS 5 app. And then for this one, I'll just have to uncomment this one. Okay. The hello world. Yeah. Forgot something at the front end. Okay, forgot the routing, the router template. Okay. Okay, so yeah. So it showed my name, which is an attribute in the AngularJS component here. So yeah, that's the similarities of steps on how to create the AngularJS 5 and Django. So now that's for the AngularJS 5 and the Django comparison. So now let's go to Docker. Okay. So who among you here already knows Docker? Anyone? Raise your hands. Okay, we have some here. Okay, that's a good percentage so far. Okay, so what is Docker? So the actual Docker installed in your computer, yeah, laptop, servers, in your Mac, in your Linux, in your Windows, is specifically called a Docker ng. So that's the whole Docker package itself. And then there is two high-level components. So Docker client is the terminal of your Mac. So when this is an example. So when I do this, so it's a Docker client sending an API to this Docker daemon right here. So as you can see, it has no return because I have no containers running currently. So again, what is Docker? So below are the building blocks of a Docker ng. So images. Let's start with images. Now, images are just like static file systems. So in a dev perspective, it's just like a class. So if if you only have a class, then you can run the methods or functions inside it, right? So it's the same as that. So let's go take a look what an image looks like. So first, let's search for an image. So let's search the Nginx image. Okay, so we have a full here. Why is it my screen? Well, too bad the screen doesn't show all, but well, so just to explain where did this images came from? So it came from Docker Hub, which is an image repository. It's similar to a source code repository like Bitbucket and GitHub. So in our case, to pull an image, all you need to do is Docker pull nginx like this. So it's very similar to git pull, but what you're pulling is an image. In the source code repository, what it contains is the files, folders, and everything to get your applications start running. But with this one, it's images. So what contains an images is an OS, and then your application files and folders inside. So I'm not gonna do a pull anymore because I already have one. But no, never mind. I'll just do it. So yeah, it's something like this. Docker pull nginx Alpine. So what is an Alpine? Nginx is the actual image repository, and then that Alpine is a tag. So tagging is same or very similar to the Bitbucket source code repository. And then Alpine, just to explain, is the lightest Linux distro right now. It's only 5 MB to be exact. Okay, so that's it for images. So it's just a static file. It's just there. Nothing will happen. Yeah. So now we will go to containers. So basically, containers are just like images that has a process. So we have an nginx here. Let's run it like Docker run. Okay. So just to be sure, we don't have a nginx running here. So yeah, it's just like that. Site can be reached. But if we run it like this, see, there's already an nginx process, web server process that's running. So just to explain the commands, it's -p. This -p is actually port. So it says that map the port 80 of the host, which is my laptop, to the port 80 of the container. So, yeah, that's what happened. Okay, so that's for containers. Now let's proceed for volume. So, just to make it clear, for a container, it's not persistent. So, if I try to change the index.html that is being rendered by this port 80 in the nginx file, let's make it quick. So let's just Docker copy. Yeah, this Docker copy. So I have already ready index.html here. So hello, welcome Pythonistas. So Docker cp index.html. Nginx is the name of the container, and forgot the location of the index.html. So wait. So we expect, since I copied this index.html file here, I expect this to also change. So like this. But if we exited this container, so upon exit, this container will also be destroyed because of the --rm option. If I run it again, it will be back because there's no persistence. So whatever file or source code that was inherited by the container from the image, it will be just like that. So to solve that, we need to use volume. I'll discuss one of the volume types, which is bind mount. So basically what it does is it mounts the one part of the location in a container to a one part of location in the host. So the command is simply like, oops, let's do this first, like this. So what I added here is this -v, which is -volume. $pwd means the current directory. So index.html, and then what file or folder with it will this file or folder mount into, which is this. So, whoops. Name, nginx. Okay, so upon, okay, so I expected that. So let's try to change the file on my host. So welcome Pythonistas, PyCon 2018. And this should also change. So yeah, it's by mounted to my host in that certain location of the container. So proceeding, okay, so lastly will be network. So network is how containers can communicate with each other. Docker has its own virtual network which is called bridge. And just to be clear, containers doesn't even know that there are other containers, and they are just isolated processes. They cannot communicate with each other directly, but instead, they communicate through the network and check if there's a DNS with that name of container there, and then it will redirect or map to that container. So I'll give you an example. By the way, as far as my experience with Docker, I think network really is the most complicated part. So, okay, let's give you guys an example. So, okay, so let's exit this one. So what I'm going to add is a Django, an Nginx configuration, reverse proxy into a Django. So this is the, sorry about that. This is the command. So it says proxy pass. So it says here to proxy it to this network DNS. So if we try to run it like, okay, I'm just gonna add the volume to make things easier. So with this, oh, sorry. Whoops. Okay. So with this, yeah, I expected it to fail. Nginx returns an error when you try to connect a reverse proxy to a non-existing network. So this one, in this case, see the error. So what happened is we need to create a container that can communicate via network with this Nginx container. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll run a Django backend here. Okay, so, whoops, correct. Sorry about that. Well, unfortunately, I cannot continue now because I said it's something in settings.py that will connect to this Postgre, but it will take too much effort to just fix this up. So, well, anyway, that's just it. With Docker, you can. It's trying to connect to PostgreSQL, which is also set in the settings.py containerized. But so yeah, okay. So well, anyway, just to take a look again on the Django or the Nginx configuration. Yeah, you can proxy to the Django via just the name of the container like this. So yeah, instead of IP, because in normal case or in some cases you need to use the IP to connect to the virtual private network. So yeah, so with this Django makes it easier. Moving on. Okay, so what's up, Docker? Even though I discussed that, some of you may not be convinced on using Docker or even changing your setup or company architecture. So it eases up deployment a lot. It automates things and it's a one fit for all environment. So who among you here has experience, or even your teammates has experience like this? So it works on my Mac, but when I try to run it in Linux or Windows, it doesn't. Anyone? Guys? Yeah, I think this is pretty normal for a developer. Yeah, even during my experience, it really happens, especially when you're trying to set up an application between a Linux and Windows. Yeah, so yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but with Docker, you will, this is avoided because you are just running on a container runtime environment. So the environment that you are using is inside the container, which is a Linux. And with that, everything is just inside an environment, whenever or whatever OS you use. And just to give you guys a knowledge, inside this Mac, how does Docker run inside this Mac? There's a virtual machine, or Docker for Mac installs a virtual machine inside the Docker. And then what inside the virtual machine is a pure Linux native technology. And then Docker is installed there, and whenever you try to connect via via Docker commands, it just sends a request to that container, into that VM, and yeah. Because Docker cannot live without Linux. It relies too much or many Linux native technologies. It includes namespaces, networks, the AUFS file systems, so on. Okay. So it eases up a deployment a lot. I can set up a whole project with just these 3 commands. A whole project, so it includes your front end, your back end, your Postgres, your engines, even more. Maybe you have a RabbitMQ, you have a Celery. So I can just deploy it or set it up in my local with just these 3 commands. So I'll give you an example. Okay, but in my case, I'll just use the Docker Compose Up because I already did the first 2. Just hold on. Yeah, I haven't turned off my computer for almost 2 weeks, so that's why. So what we have here, what I have deployed is So what I have deployed is an Nginx web server proxy into a Django REST framework backend. So this one, and then a Postgres database, and then a dev server AngularJS 5 frontend. So let's take a look. That's one. You cannot see it all, but yeah. So yeah, it's working like that. So this will benefit the team, especially if there are new hires. So because it's a pain in the ass when you try, you bought a new laptop, then you have to set up Postgres, RabbitMQ, and other tools and technologies. But with Docker, you can just, just do the 3 commands, and the whole project will be set up in your local. Okay, so the last thing is a real game changer for creating applications. So what did I mean by that? So one reason is the network DNS that I showed you earlier. Because with that, normally, from my experience, we communicate to other applications via internet. So let's say you send a request to the actual domain in the internet like http example.com. But with Docker, you can just use the private network to communicate with it. So what's the advantage? It's faster and more secure. Faster because you just communicate inside the Docker network instead of going to the global network in the internet. And then it's more secure because they are just communicating, or the transmission of the request is just inside the Docker network in your local. Okay? And lastly, the real game changer for creating applications will be the transition from staging to production. So when I say production, it's Docker Swarm. So let's go ahead. So now, we'll just proceed to Docker Swarm. So Docker Swarm, in this we'll discuss the orchestration and cluster management. Though these two are pretty interesting and important terminologies when we are talking about microservices. And when we are talking about Docker Swarm, it's simply Docker migrating to microservices. And so orchestration. So these three is the definitions that you'll find all over the internet. So automated arrangement, coordination, management of computer systems. That's for Wikipedia. For the Medium.com, traditional way of handling interactions between different SOA services. So specify that IO point-to-point connection between the services. So all of them are correct, but basically it's just the process of assigning a role to a cluster of nodes, servers, or machines. So in Docker Swarm, we call the servers included in the microservice or the cluster nodes, and then there's an orchestrator, which is the leader node that assigns the containers to their respective worker servers. Okay, so yeah, this one. So let's say the customer service is the manager node, and then I will say that, hey, this server one, which is the loyalty point service, which is the box that shows the loyalty point service, I will say that, hey, I'll give you the Django container. For the post service, I'll give you the Postgres container for our database, and the email service, I'll say that you get the engines. So yeah, it's simple as that. So cluster management, for the words itself, cluster is a closely related group. So it's just similar to like your barcadas. Management is the process that controls. A good example of management is your corporate, right? So orchestration is related to cluster management because orchestration is the process and cluster management is the group that controls the process, or the one that controls the process. So how does that relate with Docker? Again, Docker Swarm. So surpassing the Docker engine limit, the limitation of the Docker engine, the one that I explained earlier, is it's only good for monolithic architecture. So with monolithic, all you can do is just vertical scale. And in normal circumstances, or if you don't have any good planning, if you vertical scale, it will require you to do a downtime. So with Docker Swarm, instead of like chachagaka just some monolithic, then we can just transition into microservices. So with that, we can do some horizontal scaling, add some more nodes to get the add some more nodes to handle the respective service, so on. Okay, so yeah, once again, what's Docker Swarm? So major evolution of Docker, like what I just said. So instead of getting used with the monolithic architecture, you can use the microservices features of it. So a built-in orchestration of Docker. So Docker Swarm has its own orchestration. And then it also has its own clustering solution, specifically just the CLI. And then it is not enabled by default. So I've been running commands earlier, but you need to run a certain command to enable the Docker Swarm. And once you enable the Docker Swarm, there will be new sets of commands. Okay, so let's have a demo. Okay, keeping it a little clear. So what I have right here is a 5-node virtual box servers. they all have one core each, 1 gigabytes of memory each, and 18 gigabytes of disk. So how will we do the Docker Swarm? So the command will be Docker Swarm initialize, then we'll point out the address, the private IP address, like this. So actually I have one already, so here. So with this, okay, so we already have a swarm enabled. So this command, docker node ls, shows the nodes that are available in the swarm. So we just initialize the swarm, so we have only one node with the cluster swarm. So this is swarm node 1. This is the name of my virtual box. And then it says here, upon entering the command, it will show you, or it will return a command that will allow you to join the swarm cluster. So let's create a 4-node cluster first. So swarm node 2, okay, swarm node 3. Now with this, we have a 4-node cluster. Okay. Okay, so we have a 4-node cluster. So I forgot to mention Docker run earlier to, set up or run the process of engines, but normally you wouldn't do that. You'll have a Docker compose file. You have a Docker compose file which is like this that defines your services for the setup, and then the image that will be used for the container, for the side container. So services, you could consider that is the container that will be deployed. So like the Django backend will use this image that I built myself. So, and then the environments that will be used, the volumes, the process, this is the shell script process for this Django backend, and so on. So that will be the normal case when you are setting up in your team or in your company. But it's good to know the basics. Yeah, of course, that's for everybody's knowledge, or so you can troubleshoot more. So in our case, for containers, you need to use Docker service ls like this. So services is like the containers inside the Docker swarm. So I think I can explain more if we already have something deployed. So what I have here is I already have a Docker compose file for this swarm. So this one. So all I need to do is run this command. And then PyCon. Okay, so let's just wait a little and then everything will be deployed. So with that, okay, the visualizer is not yet up. But to explain you guys, so it says here replicas. What it simply means is the number of containers that will be deployed in the cluster. So what I have here is, I'm telling the orchestrator that I want one of the nodes to have the container of my Django. So it will assign a certain or a healthy node to get that container. Okay. Okay, so we have the visualizer already. So I'm really waiting for that because okay, so oh my god. So the visualizer is, just like the name is, it visualizes your swarm cluster. So just like I said earlier, we will have a 4-node swarm cluster. So we have the swarm node 1. It says here manager. So this right here will be the orchestrator. And then these are the workers. The difference between the two is manager can do the cluster management, meaning it can run the commands to do or to execute the cluster. Yeah, like the deployment that I did earlier, and to check the services available for the command. One thing to note is manager is also a worker, so it can also receive some tasks. So in this case, we have here So the Postgres is inside the manager node. The Django backend is in this swarm node 2 node, and the ng's will be in this one. So with that, the resource is already segregated. So let's see the app itself. Okay. Oh, no, sorry. Okay. Oh, by the way, yeah, forgot to mention. If you notice, there's no AngularJS 5 frontend here, unlike when I did the Docker Compose, because what I did is I already did the production build of AngularJS 5 in this case. So the command is simply just build -- prod build optimizer. So with this, yeah, it's already on the production mode, and everything is minified. If you check the network, oh crap, I can see it again. But anyway, if you check the network, everything is minified. I think the file size for this one are only like 1.6 kilobytes just to create everything in this SPA. But earlier, I think it's 2.6 MB. So that's the large decrease between a dev environment and the production environment. So let's just make it work for now. So let's say test2, 5. Okay, so yeah, just like that, we just saved a new one. So in this sample, I just segregated the resources. So now, how about scaling? Okay, so let's scale in the Django into, let's say, 3. Okay. So I told the orchestrator that I want 3 more containers of my Django backend. And if we take a look at the visualizer, you can see here that now server 3 and server 4 also has Django backend. So, so let's take a look at the logs. What happens if I, 3, 4, 5, yeah. So what happens if I try to request? Okay. Nako. Oh yeah, just 4, 5, sorry. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have 3 Django containers here deployed in 3 different servers. So if we take a look, this is the logs, by the way. This is the log. So it shows the GET request, just to be clear. So when we try to, let's try to post a GET request on the API. So it receives, this server receives, or this container in this server receives the request. Let's try to refresh again to send a GET request. So this time it's this server, and this time it's this server. So the 4th one, I expect it to send a request on this one again. So besides of the segregation of the containers, it also does some load balancing. So see? Okay. So with that, with those 2 enough, we can say that it really is production ready, and it really is flexible for scaling. So yeah. So how about we try to add another one? Last one, to make it a 5-node cluster. Okay, it's funny. Well, by the way, yeah, I'm not really surprised because VirtualBox really has some issues with Docker Swarm. So yeah, it's not been fixed. It's already raised in the community a lot of times. But yeah, yeah, this is the 4-node cluster. So what we've covered is load balancing, yeah, assigning the task or the containers on a different server. So it really segregates resources, and it really does a huge bounce when it comes to scaling. So another great thing is another awesome thing is the only configuration that I did with NGs is this one. So if you are aware, it's familiar with the container DNS. So I also named the service to this DNS. So just just declare it here in the configuration, and then Docker Swarm will already do the load balancing itself. So service discovery plus load balancing, yeah, Docker Swarm does it all. Unlike in normal cases, you need to have the private IPs and then do some advanced setting up in ng's configuration to do the load balancing. But this one is all automated. So yeah, and then other thing to notice with Docker is, what if one of the nodes went down? So let's say I'll remove this swarm node 4. Okay, so you can see now that the node 4 is down. So what happened is the Django backend is not really transferred, but the orchestrator assigned the container to an available node in the cluster. So the point is Docker Swarm just it makes sure that the number of replicas that you declare inside the cluster will always be followed. So I said that it will always be 3, so one node goes down, it will transfer or will be created on another server. So in this case, here. So that is where failure mitigation comes in. So I think with all of that, so yeah. So those are the advantages of Docker Swarm. I just gave you a demo. So load balancing, you just see the logs that it will you can see in the logs that it is all load balanced. Service discovery, I just showed the configuration of engines. It's just easy as that to discover the service to be load balanced or the proxy. And the failure mitigation, if a server node goes down, there will be another one to catch it. And easy to scale. You can see that I just did the Docker service scale command, and with that, yeah, it's already scaled. So yeah, I think this is all my topic. So let me just do a little bit of promotion with Zurian. So we are we teach these technologies. So I'm not the only employee there. So there are other employees that knows this stuff. Okay, so with Docker, it shows here that Docker is capable of handling all of these technologies. And then, yeah, we do trainings in events. So, yeah. I think next month there will be a Docker Basic Essentials training. So, to be updated, please like us on Facebook, Cloud and Data Center PH. And yeah, I think the price is, I don't know. I'm not sure yet, right? But I think the price is 10,000 for 2 days. So Docker Basic Essentials. So yeah, see, beginner level 1 day, yeah, Docker Essentials. Okay, so yeah, that's it for me.
All right, so the floor is now open to ask some question. You can go near to the microphone. Thank you.
In your example, there's a manager node, right?
Yeah.
So if the manager node goes down, will all the all the group?
That's a good question. So yeah, I just did one manager there. But normally you will do 3 node manager. And just to answer your question, if that manager goes down, yeah, everything goes down. So that's why you need more than 1 manager, and it should be an odd number of manager because of the quorum. So with 3 managers, you have to at least have 2 managers up to keep the swarm cluster. If the manager goes down, then you cannot execute any cluster management commands. So yeah. So just to answer your question, yeah, it goes down. So you need to have more than 1 manager. I just did 1 manager there, but in my case, it's a 5 node cluster, so it should be 3. So yeah. Any questions?
Hi. I have a question regarding the scaling rules. Can you set scaling rules such as adding like another container if the CPU of the server goes over 60%, like scaling policies, scaling in and out? Can you set it up like that?
Okay, now that is a question raised by a lot of users in the Docker community, but there is no native way in Docker Swarm to do that yet. I think they are implementing it in Docker Cloud, but no, you need to use some other third-party tools like Prometheus. You know Prometheus? Okay, so anyway, Prometheus is a metric monitoring system, so it monitors the metrics of your, or it can monitor the metrics of your swarm cluster, and then you can set rules there. So let's say if the 60% is already reached, then send an API to this node and then perform the cluster management commands. So yeah. So just to answer your question, no, there isn't any native way yet. So you need to do it with third-party tools like Prometheus, or even in your host providers like AWS. AWS has some good auto-scaling. So yes.
How would you compare Docker with Kubernetes and Amazon ECS?
Okay. So Kubernetes, actually I haven't tried it myself, but I read it. I think Kubernetes is a little bit complex. Yeah, because you have to set the kubectl, there are boxes. So yeah, with Swarm I think it's more basic. The one advantage that I saw with Kubernetes is I think it has a dashboard. So yeah, I think there's no really, this one is better, this one is absolutely better. It's a unanimous better for Kubernetes. It's a unanimous advantage for Docker Swarm. It's like Django and Flask. Each framework has its own advantages. And just to add up with the question, Docker is planning to have Kubernetes to be to have its own native Kubernetes. I think it's in second half of 2018. But to answer which is better or how to compare, it's just, maybe parang sanayan na lang, ganun. Pero most likely, both almost functions the same way. Yeah. Any questions?
Any more questions?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I would like to answer another one with the with the scaling, the one who asked scaling earlier for the automated. There's a paid Docker actually. It's called Docker for Enterprise Edition. The one that I demoed is Docker for CE, Community Edition. So with Docker for Enterprise Edition, it is integrated with the cloud hosting provider like AWS and Azure. And with their Enterprise Edition has its own dashboard as well, but it's not for free. It is paid. So you can set there the auto scaling. Yeah. I think it's 5,000 pesos per server. So yeah. Okay.
Alright, thank you so much for giving us a
I have one more thing.
demo.
Please like our Facebook page, Cloud and Data Center PH. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.